Let's talk about when we've been left in a relationship. It's happened to all of us. And you might have a friend come along and say, if they don't want you, then you just walk away. And that sounds like good advice, but it's not always a very easy thing to do. So today we're going to talk about some steps you can take if you've been left, maybe physically or just emotionally in a relationship, to help you move forward and move on. I'm Stacy, and I want to tell you a story about a client who did this really successfully. We coached all the way through these steps and did a brilliant job of this. So let me frame this. This client of mine was in a relationship that wasn't mutual. They wanted different things. One wanted a romantic connection, my client did, and the other person did not. So the hope for the relationship is not the same. And, to be perfectly honest, the other person just did not appreciate all that my client brought to the relationship. All of the giving, it was not mutual. And it wasn't a very healthy relationship. Now, that's one kind of case, but this is like the story of relationship, right? Where you've got two people and they want different things, or two people and they're in an unhealthy pattern, or two people and one person does all the giving, the other person doesn't really give much, right? It's really hard to walk away when you get the sense that the other person isn't present anymore. And this relationship was, was becoming more and more distanced, and it was becoming time to move on. But that's really, really hard. So let's talk about the very first step. The first step, I think, is the hardest as I coach people through this. And that is to say yes to the exit, to let go of hope for this relationship. Like, it can take years to get through that step. But you know how it feels when you're in a relationship and you have this dream for how it used to be, or this dream for how you've always wanted it to be, a dream of them finally saying like, oh, it's you, I do want that with you, or the dream of a happy family. Whatever it is, you hold on to that hope for a very, very long time sometimes, even though that other person has left the relationship, has left you. It's super hard to say, okay, this is done. But let me just frame it this way. You're not letting go of hope for that for yourself. It's not the hope of a happy family that you're letting go of. It's not the hope of somebody who loves you, honors you, embraces you, celebrates you. It's just the hope of it with this person. And you have to do this step before you can really move on. And this is why it takes people so long in breakups. Because even, let's just say that two people broke up, right? They completely broke up. That person is gone. You haven't even seen them for like a year. If your mentality is still that, I hope we get back together, or, maybe when I see them next time, sparks will fly. Like, you're still in that relationship. You've got to say, it's over. That is so hard to do. And you've got to figure out what you have to do to make that happen, right? If you're still, looking at their Facebook or their Instagram and staying connected in some way, you haven't totally said yes to the exit. And it's hard, but what do you need to do? What do you need to do so that you can move on? How do you say yes to the exit? How do you let go of the hope with this person? Because as long as you are holding on to this person and they've already gone, this is moments of your life that are being wasted, where you can apply this dream to someone else. So that's the hard part. What action do you need to take so that you can let go of that person? And the next one is to allow yourself to grieve this loss. It's a loss. It's a loss of so many things. It's a loss of a life you might have built with somebody. It's a loss of an identity. It's a loss of a dream you had that was specific to them. It's a loss of so many things. And you have to allow yourself to grieve it. And you got to like walk this balance. And this is why it's really good to do with a coach or a therapist or a friend who's really good at this. You got to feel your feelings, right? It's really important that you feel your feelings. One of the ways that you can do that is by staying in your body, asking yourself how you feel in your body and staying out of your head. Feel your feelings, but don't get trapped in the story, right? So you want to have somebody who can help you stay connected to the feeling and not like be feeding it, right? But also allow yourself to feel them. I cannot tell you how many people I hear try to talk themselves out of feeling grief. Like they're like, oh, I shouldn't feel this bad about the loss of a friendship. I will tell you right now that one of like the hardest friendships that I ever grieved, actually multiple ones, were girlfriends that I lost. Just friendships, right? But we try to talk ourselves out of it like, oh, it's just a friend. I shouldn't feel so bad. Or it's been so long. Why am I still hurting over this? But you have to allow yourself to do it. So it's walking that line between feeling those feelings and not shoving them away, saying that you can't, and also not like getting stuck in them, getting trapped in your story. It's really important that you go through that step. The next thing is to process the past. Step 3 is to process the past. Here's the thing. If you don't, patterns will repeat themselves. This is why we get stuck in the same kind of relationships over and over and over, because we didn't go and dig in and do the work to learn, right? You got to ask yourself, what happened? Like in the example of my client, once this person finally got through step 1, and it was not easy. It is not easy to exit a relationship with someone that you love. Very challenging. But the faster you get through it, the faster you can start the rest of this. But what came up in this processing part was there was a codependent pattern. There was a codependent pattern that until they were able to get some distance and not be inside of it, they weren't able to see it. And then all of a sudden, when you see this pattern, it's like, oh, I see that in a lot of different places. And then you can work on it. So you got to go back and you got to ask yourself, what is here for me to learn from this relationship so that I don't continue to repeat this? Another big piece of processing the past is what do I need to forgive, right? And you might have to forgive without an apology because, I don't know, like 90% of the time, you're not going to get one. When the person has already exited the relationship, they're not really that interested in coming back and saying, oh, I'm sorry, I hurt your feelings, right? They're done. So you have to do forgiveness for things that have happened to you, even without an apology. And there is a ton of self-forgiveness that has to happen. In the process of processing, you're going to realize, I'm responsible for that behavior. I'm responsible for keeping myself in that relationship for so long. Like you're going to end up forgiving yourself, but that's very healthy to do, right? This is how you get more quickly through a relationship with the other person already exited, but also how you do it in the most healthy way possible. 4th, now you get to focus on the future, right? Who do you want to be in a relationship? What do you want in a relationship? The cool thing about things that we don't want is they bring clarity to what we do want. So a relationship that didn't serve you is great because it shows you all the things that you don't want. So then you focus on what do I want? Who do I want to be? And then you figure out what is it going to take for me to grow into that person? So what you're doing is you're like parallel experiencing this. You're experiencing this as somebody who's grieving this loss, but you're also experiencing it as the learner in your life so that you are growing into the next version of yourself who's ready to receive the relationship that you deserve, the relationship that you want. You're doing those things at the same time by asking yourselves these questions, right? So simple process, not an easy process, but simple steps, and they will help you move through situations like this.